Hey gang, welcome back to Inverted Pursuits Laboratory. And this week, as you probably guessed by the name on the video, we're going to be discussing our new Featherweight GPS tracker capsule. Now, this capsule is shock cord mounted, so it is designed to mount to the shock cord of your rocket and then house your Featherweight tracker inside here to ensure you can put it on some smaller rockets that you may not have an AV bay on, and still have a way to use it and keep it protected. There are not a lot of good methods for attaching it to smaller rockets at the moment, so I partnered with Featherweight to develop this capsule that can fit down into as small as a 38mm body tube. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys all the parts it's made of and how it works. So let's get started. Alright guys, so we've got all of our parts laid out. We've got a series of screws. We have two 440 by 1/4 inch screws, three 440 by 3/8 screws, and four 440 by 1/2 inch screws. This should actually be 5. I apparently misplaced one. Not sure what happened there, but there it is. And then we have the main 3 parts to our capsule. So we have our mid plate. This is where our Featherweight mounts. We have our top cover that protects the Featherweight itself. And then we have our bottom cover, which is where our shock cords can lie inside of. So we can hold up to a 1/2 inch shock cord in this wider slot. So I'll show you like a 1/2 inch shock cord lays down in here pretty tight. Like this is actually a little wider than a 1/2 inch shock cord, but it wads in there pretty tightly. It will also take like 3/8 Kevlar will sit in here pretty nicely, as well as some 1/8 inch like nylon here can set in no problem. Along these, a lot of times I will tie knots either side when I've been flying it to actually ensure it doesn't slide up and down the shock cord a whole lot. On the 1/2 inch nylon and 1/2 inch Kevlar, I have found you don't have to do any other retention than just setting it in here and screwing the whole thing together. It actually holds so tightly that you can slide it up and down the shock cord, but you can't actually, it won't move during flight, which has been my experience so far. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how this entire thing assembles with all the parts we have. So I don't actually have a real Featherweight. All I have is this 3D printed version that I printed off from a model that I found. So we're gonna use this, and then I actually happen to have one of the 400 milliamp hour 3.7 volt batteries that Featherweight tends to sell. This is actually one that goes to a different tracker, so it's a slightly different setup than the way Featherweight typically has his. But we'll go ahead and get started with getting everything mounted. So the first thing we're going to do is take our two 440 by 1/4 inch screws and use them to mount the tracker to the mid plate. So the Featherweight tracker mounts with 2 screws off center from each other. The mid plate, as you probably noticed when I was holding it up, has a little groove in here. It's for your antenna to sit in. It allowed the whole thing to get a little bit lower profile, so we could actually get it down to fitting inside that 38mm body tube, which once I have this whole thing assembled, I'll show you how it fits inside there. So we get those 2. From here, the next step you'll want to do if you're actually getting this flight ready is take your battery. The battery cable slides through this slot here, and then you'll want to plug it in to your plug-in. My model doesn't actually have a plug-in, so we just kind of drape it over here. And then you'll also want to be sure you turn your tracker on. This is the last time you'll actually have access to the tracker in the assembly. Alright, so this thing looks like it can go together multiple ways. It cannot. It's actually keyed. So if we look here, I've got this 1 extra hole, and I've actually got 2 extra holes here. This 1 extra hole is designed to line up with this one here, so it would actually go... No, actually goes like that. So you can see the 3 sets of holes down line up with each other, but if I were to like flip this plate over, the 3 sets of holes do not line up with each other. So you actually won't be able to get your screw into this secondary retention plate, which I consider highly important. This secondary retention hole is designed for this screw hole right here. The difference between knowing whether it's a 1/2 inch or 3/8, because that's basically the difference on how they come through these holes. 1/2 inch will get us all the way through, 3/8 does not on the full final assembly. Basically, we'll take this and flip it upside down and mount it on here. This seems kind of complicated when I'm explaining it right now. It's really not that complicated, but it really feels complicated. So you take your three 440 by 3/8. Two of them are used for retaining the mid plate to the top cover. So we simply screw those two in. And then we have our bottom cover, which you can see has the word battery printed on there, and that's where our battery will sit right in here with enough room for the cable to come over, and then the slots line up with each other. This divot here lines up with the hole there. On the back, you will notice, and it's very, very poorly visible, unfortunately, on my version I'm messing with right now. The print didn't come out as well as some of my production models have. But there is little bits of text back here. So it says half, 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 and 3/8. So that's to tell you where all of your screws go. I'm also going to have this in the instruction PDF. It'll point out where all your screws need to go on the back when you're looking at it. But we also need to make sure at this point we go ahead and put our shot cord in. So I'm going to go ahead and run my 1/2" shot cord through the 1/2" slot here and finagle it a little bit to get her in there. Which she's being a little difficult today. So is the battery. So we can get that all lined up, and you'll notice I do have a little bit of ability to slide this back and forth. One thing I will say, if you go ahead and take two, even before you put your shot cord in, two of your 1/2" screws and screw them on in. This 1/2" screw is designed such that it goes all the way through the mid plate and screws into the top cover. So if I take my 1/2" screw and lay it over here, you can kind of see that by the time it goes through, it's going solidly into our top cover, and that's to ensure that we fully sandwich this thing together and there's no chance of it coming apart during flight, and it protects your unit to the maximum that we can. So when you tighten these back two down, you can tighten them as much as you want, but you'll still have the ability to pry this front edge open and pull your shot cord in and out. It makes for an easy way to get this unit off your shot cord, or say you prep this unit, don't want to prep it at the same time as your rocket. But I'm going to go ahead and finagle this a little bit more because I want to play with it back and forth just a bit to make sure I can get a good solid seat. So I'm at that point. My 1/2" screw goes over here, my other two 1/2" go up top, and then this one is my 3/8. The reason this one is a 3/8 instead of a 1/2" is because the antenna of your Featherweight actually sits right in the similar location, and you do not want the screw to damage your antenna. So the shorter screw still ensures that we get a good connection to the mid plate for retention, but it also keeps the threads from being able to chatter against the side of your antenna. Not that it would do a whole lot, it just seemed like a good idea to not have any potential for damage against the antenna. So we go ahead and get that fully tightened down. Alright, at this point we've got everything tightened on there, and you can see our Featherweight module can slide on here, but it also doesn't move. So we'll go ahead and reposition real quick and give you guys a little bit different view of the whole setup here. So as you can see when I'm holding this, the unit doesn't slide along. I can move it up and down the shot cord wherever I want. So if I'm oh man, I mounted this on here but I really need it a little bit lower, I can move it a little bit lower. If I need it a little higher, I can move it a little higher. But let's go ahead and show you how this thing fits in a 38mm tube. So I've got my 38mm here, and if I want to slide this on in here, I can slide all my shot cord in, I can slide the unit in, and just keep on going. Like, it fits down in there beautifully. You can see from head on here just how much space it takes up in there. There's a small gap down here at the bottom, but otherwise it's pretty tight all the way around. It's so tight even that you can't actually wrap your shot cord accidentally around. So if you wanted to try and like wrap your shot cord around this, it is so tight that it will not fit in here with the shot cord wrapped around the unit. So you need to make sure you get your shot cord to lay down as gently as you can, and you'll have to finagle it and figure out where it wants to lay to provide you like the best flight alignment. There's no one right answer, just the answer that doesn't get it stuck. You want it to still be able to come out when your ejection charge goes off. But I initially flew this in a 3-inch rocket on an H100 to 1700 feet. I used 2 grams of black powder. There's not as much scorching left on this as there was. A lot of it was just some powder marks and soot, and it came off with me messing with it. But it's got a little bit of black on there, but not much. And it took it just fine. Came down under a 24-inch chute. Touchdown speed was somewhere in the like 35 to 40 I think it was feet per second. I don't remember directly off what my open rocket sim said it was, but I flew this exact configuration with even with this 3D printed board inside here, and it flew great for everything I was doing. So now these capsules, as I'm calling them, you'll find them on the website as the Featherweight shot cord mounted capsule. I may change that just to be Featherweight capsule. Not 100% certain at this point. For now, I kind of like having the fact that it's a shot cord mounted capsule in the name, so it's pretty obvious what it does and how it's meant to be used. But these are available on my website. They are launching November 1st. This video is coming out November 3rd, so they've actually been live for 2 days at this point. Actually 3 days at this point. So these are available on Inverted Pursuits Laboratory. There's a link in the description below. They are retailing for $15. For the first month here in November, they're going to be on sale for $12 each. That is a limited time sale just for the month of November, just on these products. Now, I am having other sales throughout the month of November on the rest of my product. So if you want to get discounts, I have coupon codes available for the month of November. I call it my November sale. You will find information about that in the description box below. So please check it out if you're interested in getting a hold of your very own Featherweight capsule so that you can fly your Featherweight on some smaller rockets that may not have an electronics bay. Thanks for watching, gang. I really appreciate you guys tuning in to check out the new stuff that we have going on here. If you're interested, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps out our metrics a ton, and YouTube helps recommend this content to you more and find more things that you might like. Until next time, guys, fly safe.